Hi guys! In this video we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting fractions. So my first example is visual, 1/3 plus half. Now to add these we need to make sure they're out of the same number. So the bottom number needs to kind of be the same. To do that I'm going to change this fraction. So I'm going to make it out of 6. Can you see that this becomes 2 out of 6? And if I do the same with half, I get 3 out of 6. 2 over 6 plus 3 over 6 gives me 5 over 6 or 5/6. And you can see that in the final diagram. Now, that is, when we're adding or subtracting fractions, we need to make sure the denominator is the same. So I've actually changed the denominator here, and they both became 6 in order for us to add. So we need to do the same with all of our adding and subtracting of fractions. There are two ways of doing that. One is to cross multiply. The other way is to use LCM. In this video, we're going to be looking at cross multiplying. In the next video, in adding and subtracting part 2, we'll look at using the LCMs to add or subtract fractions. Now, to cross multiply, what we're doing is we are using the opposite denominator and we're timesing it to the numerator and the denominator of the first fraction. And that's what I mean by cross. We're crossing it over. And that's because if we're doing 2 times 3 for our denominator, it is exactly the same as 3 times 2. So we end up with denominators of 6 and 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Now that we have the same denominator, we can add them. Remember, the denominator does not change. We add the numerators and we get 5/6, just like in the diagram. Let's move on to some more examples. The next one I have for you is 4/5 take away 1/4. So again, we're going to cross multiply. So the first fraction, we're going to use the denominator of the second fraction 2 times, which is 4. So times 4 times 4. Then we're going to use the first denominator to times the second fraction, times 5 times 5. I end up with 4 times 4 is 16 over 20. Take away 1 times 5 is 5, and again over 20. And my answer is always going to be over 20 because remember, the bottom denominator stays the same when we're adding or subtracting once we have changed it. So 16 minus 5 is 11, so my answer is 11/20. Let's look at our next example, 1/7 plus a half. So remember, we're looking at the second denominator, which is 2. So we're going to times 2 times 2. And our first denominator is 7. So times 7 times 7. I end up with 1 times 2, 2. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus 1 times 7 is 7. Over 2 times 7 is 14. So remember that the bottom does not change when we're adding or subtracting. So 14, 14, 14. And we're doing 2 plus 7 equals 9. Our answer is 9/14. Moving on to our last example. We're looking at the second denominator, which is 3. So we're doing times 3 times 3. Then we look at our first denominator, which is 10. So times 10 times 10. 7 times 3 is 21. 10 times 3 is 30. Then we're doing takeaway. 1 times 10 is 10. And 3 times 10 is 30. Okay, so we've got 30, 30 for our denominators, so our answer is also going to be out of 30. 21 take away 10 gives us 11. Our answer is 11/30. Hope that helped, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.